And so, the willingness to not know. The willingness to be so fully undone. Without knowing that you are willing. The willingness comes from a maturity, a readiness. That the not knowing of being cannot be underestimated, because the not knowing is the vast open space of being that the mind cannot fathom, that the mind cannot understand. So when we speak about inquiry, when we speak about true inquiry brings us to the stop. It brings us to the not knowing of being, the vast open spaciousness that is the self, where the mind cannot understand, where the mind cannot go. There is a big difference between inquiry and the questioning or seeking or searching with the mind. The mind is always focused upon things. The mind always needs a conclusion, an answer. Whereas inquiry is the stop, the not knowing, the openness. It is a willingness, a readiness to actually see what's already here. It's not a looking for something other. It's not a looking for something new. It is the maturity and readiness to just see what is here, to see what has always been here, to realize the truth of who you are, is to recognize your eternal timeless self, the eternal timeless being. To be so fully here, to recognize the presence that is never ever touched. It is so simple, so incredibly simple. And yet the one that is looking for it is complex. And we could say this is a process of evolving into simplicity. Letting go of the complexities of the mind, letting go of the control mechanisms, the protective mechanisms that have been learned. You cannot learn simplicity, but you can unlearn complexity. You can unlearn the habit of the mind to be so riveted by its own fascination with itself. And this is where questioning, the mind's questioning that wants instructions, that wants to know how, that wants to land somewhere, it can only lead round and round in circles. It's complex, it's complicated, it's bound in a structure that is trying to find a way out, but it is not looking in the right place, trying to find its way out by binding itself tighter. It's like a spider wrapping up its prey and binding it tight as the mind keeps trying to search within its own limited context. It is just tying itself up tighter, tying itself up in more and more knots. The truth is so simple. What could be more simple than discovering what is already here? How could the mind even imagine something so simple? A simplicity that is beyond imagining, a simplicity that cannot be found in the same way that answers can usually be found, And this is the profundity of true inquiry. The profundity of true inquiry is that it is about asking the right question. It is about asking your deepest, most profound question. It's not about asking questions and looking for answers. It's asking a question that is so profound that it will change your life in a moment to discover that you are the living answer. It's having the courage to ask the question that will undo you, to truly ask that question. And when that question is truly asked from a place of readiness to stop, you will discover the living answer is who you are, who you have always been. You will discover the timeless, eternal self that has always been here. This is the truth. It's not about asking small questions with the mind and looking for answers in order to feel validated and justified, in order to play the game of being right. It's about asking the question that will stop the perpetual cycling of the mind. Asking the courageous question that will change your life forever. What is that question? That is for you to find out. We could say, in the classical teachings, the question is, who am I? But there is even an evolution of making this question relevant for how you are living now. It's about making this question relevant. What is the I? When you come to the I am presence, can feel yourself just being here. Can feel the presence of being. I am. You are. It is. The amness, the isness. It is about finding out who this I really is, who the you really is. Discovering that the amness, the are of you are, and the isness is exactly the same. It is the living answer. It is the presence of being. And when you really start to look who the I really is beyond all of the daily meanderings and thinking, the myriad of I thoughts, where the I is identified with the mind and the body, it is to see how this is such a huge misunderstanding that is repeated and repeated all day, every day. I. Referring to the me. But who is this I? Who is this I? That you are. You are. In your living presence, everything that is being sought. So you have to find the question. You have to come to a maturity, a readiness for this question to bubble up. It's not a throwaway. The question, true inquiry, can really only be possible when there is a maturity for the real question to bubble up, when there is a readiness. To ask the questions where the maturity is not here will just feel frustrating. It will feel frustrating, but that frustration is all part of the letting go of the mind's need to know the mind's need to find answers, to find conclusions. Because maturity is a willingness to not know in such a full capacity, to be utterly clueless, to come to this moment so fully and not leave. When there is a readiness to not leave, then the question will come forward, and the question will be asked, and the question will lead you to the greatest stop. It is the stop of the mind, the stop of the illusion, the stop of complexity, the stop of desire, the stop of doership, the stop of me and mine. And it is the seeing, the clear seeing that who you are is the presence of being that has always been here, the timeless one, the eternal now. That you are here. You are here in every moment as the moment. You are not the content of the moment. You are the vast open spaciousness in which all happening is happening. And as the spaciousness, you are here before the first thought. Feel yourself here now. Feel yourself here now. The simplicity of your own existence, just being. When you come to the felt sense of existence, just being, this is the one being. This is existence itself. Your existence is not a personal existence. It is the impersonal self that just is, the amness, the isness that just is. Who am I? Who am I? What is this? What is this that I am longing for? What is this truth? Where is this truth? Where is this peace? How can it be that I am the presence? How can I go beyond the wanting to understand this and discover the aliveness of this truth as my very own being? How can I let go of doership? How can I let go of thinking and be so still? Be still. Find out. It's not about asking throwaway questions. It's not about being flippant with the possibility of inquiry. It takes a sincerity. That sincerity is the readiness. The readiness to let go of everything that has been gathered as knowledge, and admit that everything of the world is transient and temporary. To see this, even the mind can understand this. Everything of the world is transient, it is temporary, it comes and goes. And so, why look in the world for the greatest possibility of fulfillment? Why look in the world when a simple investigation can show that everything of the world is temporary? And what you are looking for is the eternal, unmoving, unshakable peace that is the heart of being. So why look in the world, knowing that you cannot find what you are looking for? Why continue to play the game of looking? Interesting. Interesting indeed. You see, it takes to be still enough. It takes to be ready. It's so easy for the me to have all kinds of ideas of wanting, of what this quest is really for. But when it really lands, what you are questing for, you already are. And you can see that everything of the world is temporary. There is a turning inward, a turning to being the stillness, to feel your own presence just being here. We could say being still, being present, and feeling the felt sense of the presence of being that is your own simple existence. The feeling of I am, I am, I am, I am. It is to notice when you come to the I am presence of being, there's nothing else here. There's an emptiness. There is an openness. The emptiness, the openness is the finding. The boundless spaciousness is the finding. If there is a willingness to be here and to not know, to be the living inquiry brings you to being the living answer. You rest with the felt sense of openness that is the availability for grace to come and reveal the deeper, clearer seeing. And if this seeing has already come in, but it feels like it comes and goes, then it is to just keep returning to this knowing, the knowing of yourself as being, as the presence, and to allow this eroding away of complexity. Allow the eroding away of the mind's need to stay attached to its ideas and concepts. It is to keep coming to the being, to remember who you are, tell the truth of who you are, here now, here now. It is such a habit to just deny this truth, and for a nanosecond of clear seeing to be snatched away by the mind's habit to qualify, to understand. Being here now, being here now. The great discovery is the discovery of what is always here, what has always been here, what is here that never ever moves and changes. The awareness of being that is aware of all that is moving and changing, aware of the thoughts that come and go, the feelings, sensations, emotions that come and go, and to rest as the awareness, recognizing that the awareness does not come and go, that the awareness is aware of what is coming and going, but is not touched or affected in any way by this movement, that the stillness is complete, the stillness of just being is full and rich, unmoving, immaculate being, never changing, never ever changing. And to come to this is to come to yourself. The willingness to be utterly clueless, to not know, and to rest in that not knowing. How quickly the mind will come in with something that it knows, some kind of concept or idea, some way of the mind trying to hold its position, regain its position. So it is to come again and again to the not knowing, to the being, the emptiness, the simplicity, and keep recognizing the profundity of this simplicity. Keep recognizing this presence that does not come and go, that this presence is an aware presence that is aware of all that is moving and changing, that this aware presence is vast, it is boundless, infinite. The feeling of yourself being this presence has no location. It is the moment that is expansive and without boundary, uncontained and limitless. To feel yourself here now, to truly feel yourself here now, is to feel the spaciousness of being the being. And then watch that everything that is moving and changing, everything that is transient and temporary, is just coming and going, ever changing, the content of experience, and recognize as the aware space that all that is moving and changing is taking place in you, in the vast space that you are. You are not touched by it. You are not touched or disturbed in any way. You are just here, just being, simply being. The mind cannot understand that it cannot understand. It cannot get that this resonance that is being shared here is not for the mind, and it will keep trying again and again to make sense of it, because it can follow the words, because the words are in a language that it understands. But if these words were coming in a language that was not familiar, the effect of the resonance would still be the same. Because this is about consciousness recognizing itself, being present to itself, consciousness itself being awake to itself. You are the awake field, the vastness of the awake field, the infinite, unbounded field of awakeness. the being that already knows, the field that is the being. So another element of true inquiry is a willingness to not be fooled by the information that the mind brings forward. And true inquiry will constantly question, where are these thoughts coming from? Where does all this transient, temporary stuff come from? Instead of believing in it and just engaging with it as if it's real, to inquire, to find out what is the source of all of this. This is the reason for the manifest world. It's the greatest clue that has ever been left. The whole manifest world is the clue, and it's just waiting for the right question to be asked. So if you're not busy just playing in the Disneyland of the mind, and you find out, where does this all come from? Amazing amazingness. It brings you right to the very same living answer, the not knowing. And you let go of trying to work out, is this creation theory more correct than that creation theory? Which one is right? Because I want to know the one that's right. There's a letting go and just following everything back to the source. There's no information that the mind can grasp onto. There's the not knowing. And in the not knowing, the field is the field of divine remembering. The field is the field of smriti, the field that just remembers itself. And in that is wildly alive with the intelligence that is the living Vade. It's the living aliveness of the whole awake field. It's the intelligence of absolutely all that is. We could say knowledge of the self is the only knowledge that is required. Freedom is knowledge of the self. The world is just happening in a way that we cannot control. In a way, we cannot be free in the world in the way that we aspire to be. Freedom is the self, and that knowledge of the self is true freedom. It's everything. It's absolutely everything. And curiously, it is the emptiness that reveals this. The emptiness reveals the everything that self-knowledge is. It reveals the fullness, the fulfillment of all the longing. True fulfillment, true fullness. The emptiness leads to the fullness, and the fullness leads you to the void, which is utter wholeness. There is a seeming process. Once you recognize the truth of who you are, when there is a seeming going backwards and forwards and losing your knowing, losing the being, and being caught in the mind, this is the process of unity. It's the process of gathering all of the pieces of wholeness. You cannot come to utter integral wholeness where the self is no longer referring to itself, without gathering all of the pieces of yourself. You need the process of gathering in order to come to the utter wholeness that is the integral wholeness. That is God. That is the purity of the self in its totality. So there is nothing wrong with the sense of dipping in and out. It's actually perfection. It is the cycle of transformation. It is the cycle of surrender. The biggest grace that can be offered are the challenges. Who knew? Having a companion or many companions that trigger you, that trigger all of the challenging vasanas, samskaras to come forward, so that you can out all of the places where the mind and the ego can hide. The greatest gift that grace brings forward are the companionships that bring forward your unconscious material, so that you can clear the debris and the vasanas. Because you cannot be entirely free when there are vasanas still in place. You can taste the being, you can taste freedom, you can live with a degree of freedom, but you cannot come to the integral wholeness all the way without the vasanas being polished away so that you are not constantly being pulled back into the mind. But the extraordinary grace of the glory is that this process is not a process that you have to be in understanding of, you do not have to be in control of. It is just to let go and recognize that life is the guru. Life is the guru that is bringing everything forward to push and pull and poke all of the places that need to be brought into clear seeing. Of course, would the divine have left this possibility not fully taken care of? Of course, this is the grace. So every single thing that is happening in the life is the flow of grace that is carrying you deeper and deeper into finer and finer, more exquisite, sublime values of freedom, so that you can gather all of the pieces of your very own wholeness and offer them at the feet of God. You can offer all of the pieces of wholeness to God in complete surrender. And in return, the divine knowing is offered to you. But it's not offered to you as someone. It's offered to you as a clear reflection of the self, of your God nature, of the absolute truth of who you are. But the readiness to stare all of the way in to the void of not knowing, of unfathomable not knowing, to stare the divine all the way into the utter not knowing, where all that remains is truly the self, not a flavor of the self alone, Brahman alone. It's the completion of, we could say, the mature Atman just falls into Brahman. It's all the natural process that is unfolding. Grace is carrying it all. So It is just to be so fully available to grace. And to be available to grace is to be here now. To be here now in the presence of your very own self, just being. Any value of freedom is to be celebrated. It is to be celebrated and received with so much gratitude. Any value of freedom is to be celebrated. Any value of freedom that is constantly celebrated, constantly taken in, will lead to deeper and deeper possibilities of freedom. Freedom and freedom and freedom. The freedom of the self that is ever present here now. It is not in the world. It is not in the transient and temporary. It is not through working things out with the mind. It is through letting go of all need and desire, all habits to understand, all habits to move with a sense of ambition, spiritual ambition. It's letting go of spiritual ambition, because this process is the great humbling. We could say the great awakening is the great humbling. It's the humbling of the mind in absolutely every single way. The mind has to be humbled to be living as the great awakeness, the self knowing itself, celebrating itself, knowing only itself. Coming to wholeness. The glory, of course, is that wholeness is already here, totality is already here, and you can taste flavors of that. And when you taste a flavor of that, it feels so whole and complete that there's a felt sense that this can never ever be lost. This could never go anywhere because it's so rich and whole. This is it now. This is it. I am home. I am home. Great glory. Great glory. And then something comes in. You have not lost the glory of recognition. You can never lose the glory of recognition. Let us say very clearly that you never go backwards. Know this, because the mind does not know this. And the mind will come in and act as a distracting mechanism, getting so frustrated that it's lost. It will try to interpret and understand, and it will try to find that deep knowing. But of course, the mind cannot find it again. It is to let go and be. Let go and be. When you let go and be, it finds you. It rises up and says, over here, guess what? I am the infinite, vast, eternal being, and I did not go anywhere. There's someone here that went somewhere, and it was you, my love. It was you. You fell into your mind, and you believed those thoughts and concepts. But it's okay, because you were just off gathering pieces of wholeness. No one did anything wrong. You did not make a mistake. This is part of the process of transformation. So know in the heart of being that you never ever take a step backwards. It's impossible, because the truth is here in its radiant totality. It's here. Your wholeness is here, and you already are that wholeness. This is the truth. This is the truth. That which seems like a process is the process of evolving to the simplicity of recognizing, evolving out of complexity, into the simplicity of being able to receive the fullness of how incredibly simple you are. Receiving your zero-ness. Receiving that you are zero. You are nothing. You do not exist. You see how simple you have to be in order to receive that truth? You cannot receive that truth when you are attached to being an entity, when you are attached to being someone and owning this and owning that and not letting go of this and that. Zero. Zero. You are the formless, unmanifest being. Everything that is manifest is only here to lead you into this truth. Of course, that which is formless appears to as form. The unmanifest appears as the manifest. Yes, but do not be bound by concepts about that. Fall into the vastness of your empty, blissful being and let the intelligence of the field reveal how it all works. Because then you are not attached, right? Where there is a mind, the mind can get very attached to, well, the world is included too, and me and my thoughts are all part of it. It can be such a trap to hold on to that concept. So right now, throw that one away, put that one on the pile, throw that one over there on the pile of things that are not needed anymore. And while you're at it, throw the rest of them away, all of the concepts, all of the ideas, because you do not need them here in the presence of being. You do not need them here because everything that is needed is here. Pure knowledge is complete. It is complete. So, being here now, we are traveling the landscape of consciousness from the surface, the illusion of separation, the invitation to true inquiry, to truly be clueless, to truly surrender into this moment and not know, again and again and again, to allow the deepest, most profound questions to come forward, to have the courage, to have the radical honesty within your spacious inner world, to be your profound self. When you are resting in the not knowing, when you are resting in the stillness, when there is nothing else here but presence. Are you here? You know you are here. So who are you? Who are you that is here when everything else has been cast aside? When there are no thoughts, there are no stories, no concepts, when there are no words, when there is nothing else here but your presence, then who are you? Who are you? Do not grasp. It will fly away, because grasping is of the mind. It is just to be here and feel, revel in the spaciousness, the infinite boundless spaciousness, when there is nothing else here but presence. Who are you? You are here. You know you are here. So who are you? Tell the truth. Tell your truth. Tell your truth. The truth of the innermost being. Just simply being. Feel the glory of being the living answer. Being such a surrender that does not know, and yet knowing is here. The knowing of being will bring a smile. You are here. You do not know who you are, what you are, but you know you are here. So be with this. Be with yourself. Explore being yourself. Feel the vastness. Feel the boundless openness. You know you are here. You do not know where. You are nowhere. You are everywhere. You know this is yourself, but you cannot make sense. It's not for the mind. It's the being itself, the consciousness itself, recognizing itself. And you are the consciousness, the pure conscious awareness, aware of itself, can be aware of what moves and changes, and can be aware of itself just being here. You are the presence, not the person. The person is just an experience happening in the vast space that you are. Feel this truth. Feel this truth without trying to grab hold of it, without understanding. Feel the simplicity of just knowing. Just knowing is being this truth. You are resting in the heart, the vast, infinite heart. And this vast, infinite heart is openness. It is love with no bounds and no conditions. It is peace that is undisturbable and true. It is freedom. Freedom from the limitations of the mind and the me. Freedom that is expansive beyond imagining. And you are the freedom. You are the freedom. Feel the glory of yourself just being. Mm. Mm. the stillness, the simplicity, the silence of the heart just being. The peace, the love, the happiness that is the true nature, where there is no wanting, no needing, there is just simple being, the self being itself. Mm. Mm. To just not know, to be here as the moment, the vastness, the emptiness, the vast spaciousness in which everything is happening. Mm. It is the letting go of control without a doer, that when there is a willingness to just be here and not know, a quality of surrender comes in, a natural quality of surrender comes in. And this is where clear seeing dawns. That you are the being, you are the presence, you are the infinite, eternal one, the openness, the simplicity, the freedom. Mm. Mm. So the willingness to stop, to be here, to be the stillness. When there is a growing tide of the world, growing tired of trying, striving, efforting. It is to recognize that there is another possibility, and that possibility is just to stop and be here. Stop looking in the world where you know the answer is not, and to just be here. The relaxation, the Maha relaxation, the great supreme relaxation into yourself. It is nothing like the mind imagines. To fall into this moment so fully, to be so present that nothing is left but presence itself. That there's no doing involved, that suddenly complexity is not here. There is only simplicity. You can feel that you are here. You can see the thoughts that come and go. But as the aware witness, as the aware being that is untouched by any of it, and then it is just about receiving all of life as a great offering, as the Guru that is guiding you. Guru, grace, God, the divine, it's all the same. It is the flow that is carrying everything into the ocean of divine remembering. So the receiving of all of life, just as it is natural for the openness. To meet life, all of life, with utter openness, to not resist, or we could even say to be open to the resistance that the me has, to be so fully open to even all that the me brings forward, to meet it all as the openness. Because when utter openness is what is meeting and receiving all of life, there is nowhere to hide. There can be no shame or guilt There can be no need to hide anything, because when everything is welcome, then everything that has been hiding in the shadows, everything that has been suppressed and pushed down, is welcome to come forward. And as it comes forward, it is this opportunity to free all of these vasanas, clear all of this debris that can pull the attention into identification. It's all part of the natural unraveling, so that every single thread can be woven back into the fabric, the very fabric of divine remembering. There's a divine plan unfolding. Do not resist it. Receive it with the utmost openness, and know that every single poke and push is smoothing the rough edges on which stickiness can get stuck, where there can be a getting hooked, right? This is the process of refinement, gathering the pieces of wholeness, bringing everything to the altar, bringing everything, all of yourself, to the altar. The key is that your own wholeness is that which is holding space for every single part of you that does not seem to remember. Your own wholeness, the wholeness of being, is holding the space of presence for every single fiber of you to come forward, courageously come forward, and fall into the presence of love, connection, and simplicity that has always been longed for. When we turn inward and there is this readiness and this willingness, we come to recognize that everything is being taken care of. When we are at the feet of the true Guru of life, God, grace, when we are falling in pure and simple devotion to this moment here now, everything is being taken care of. That we no longer need to control, because we hand over that control to the Supreme. We hand over that control to the one that knows. And as we hand over that control, we come into alignment with the knowing that unfathomable divinity is what we belong to. You find your sameness. You find that there is no difference. You are the aliveness in everything. You are the aliveness of the field. You are the aliveness of life itself, just living itself. Flowing, flowing, flowing. And everything is conspiring for this truth to be the resounding, celebratory knowing of the heart in all beings as the one being. The truth is already here. The wholeness, totality, it's already here. Nothing is out of place. Where there seems to be a process, it's just the process of everything coming into the depths of clear seeing, divine remembering. Mm. 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 It's so gorgeous to be yourself. Feel how gorgeous it is, how gorgeous you are, how beautiful you are. Feel the light of your own heart shining this truth. The beauty, the magnificence, the holiness that you are right now. Mm. Mm. Feel how simple you are. Feel how open and empty you are. Feel the resonance of truth. That is the simplicity of being here, the heart of being. Mm. Mm. Mm.